Oh, pre-game show, pre-show, pre-show. Anyway, welcome to the 5-year anniversary pre-show special drive time dialectic. I'm TC, host, founder, and originator as of 5 years today of the Minnesota Black Robe Regiment channel podcast, Minnesota Black Robe Regiment Media, MBRR Media. So thanks for stopping by. I am, this is a drive time dialectic. That means I'm not going to be able to pay as much attention to the chat as possible. I will interact with you guys as much as safe driving allows. But right now we're just having a conversation. It's a drive time dialectic. Thank you, Allie Bell, for the congratulations. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys will check the description the link in the description of this video and tune in for the live premiere of my 5-year anniversary show tonight. We're going to be having a very fun conversation about where I started and watching my very first several minutes of my very first interview, and then my most recent live besides this one. We're going to watch some of that and do some commentary. I'm going to introduce you guys again to a friend of mine named Justin for that show. Big shout out to my show producers, IMAV from over on Subscribestar and Angry Vet from here on YouTube. And I'm looking for channel members over on Rumble. This content will be downloaded and put up on Rumble for people to watch later over there. We're also going to be talking here in the days to come about the SCARS initiative, as well as Veteran Nation Foundation and the work that those two groups are doing together to help vets. So make sure you tune into that. Share this out if you would. This is a story I've been covering for a while. Well, how do I want to say this? I don't want to say that we've been covering it for a while, because we haven't really started to dig into the facts of the case, but we have been. I've done one other stream, Drive Time Dialectic, actually about Stephen, back on March 3rd of this year when, hey, JJ Titanic, good to see you. But we did do a live stream talking about Stephen's case, the periphery of Stephen's case, and we discussed during that drive time dialectic the fact that Judge Haney had her presiding over that trial of Stephen was thrown out. Stephen was granted a brand new trial, and I had somebody trying to pass me on the right. I wouldn't let him, because he was going to try and wedge himself in between everybody. So, anyway, Stephen was granted was ordered by the Minnesota Supreme Court to have a new trial, and they've been sitting on that since March 3rd. Olmsted County has decided not to appeal the order for a new trial. Now, that at first sounds incredibly promising, right? Like, oh, they're not appealing. They aren't appealing. That doesn't mean they aren't going to try and do a new trial with Stephen. So today, Minnesota Department of Corrections had the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office send a transport team up and retrieve Stephen from where he was incarcerated and bring him back to Olmsted County. Now, brings him a step closer to home, right? Sounds good so far, right? Maybe, kind of, sort of. But, yeah. We'll talk a little bit more about my thoughts on that here in just a second as I get into traffic. cruise. Don't want to give them a reason to pull me over. All right, there we're set at 60 and we're good to hook. All right, so once again, be watching for new content coming out. Be looking for Veteran Nation, AVA, Veterans Affairs Media. Working on more stories for my co-host Skipper. Also working, I've got so many stories coming my way right now. More interviews on Pam's case. I'm waiting a little bit more time to see if we can get some more people from Marcy, Justice for Spencer, his mom. Looking to see if we can get a few more people there, some witnesses to come on and chat. We'll see how that goes. More info on Skipper's case too, by the way, if I didn't say that. But anyway, so the Olmsted County Prosecutor's Office has been going through a shuffle in power, a shuffle in control. And Olmsted County Attorney, former Olmsted County Attorney Mark Ostrom decided to step down midway through his most recent term. Now, I will speculate, I will use some informed conjecture to talk about why I think Mark Ostrom has decided to step down. Besides the fact that he's a dirty sleazeball who's now off in private life, basically attempting to avoid the accountability for his dirty sleazeball antics, I do believe that part and parcel of what has motivated Mark Ostrom to step down is his involvement in the prosecution, which ultimately is just the persecution of Stephen Hart. Stephen Hart was his trial was handled like crap by not only Judge Haney, but also by the prosecution. The prosecution colluded with Haney to strip Stephen of his constitutional right to a defense. And, you know, keep in mind, that's a natural right. You have a right to defend yourself in court. You have a right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. They treated Stephen guilty from day one. They absolutely had it out for him. Mark Ostrom absolutely hates self-defense. The state of Minnesota hates self-defense. They love to make an example of people in as much as they possibly can when it comes to self-defense cases. And Mark Ostrom really did, when he won the conviction in the collusion with Judge Haney and was able to sentence, let's just say Stephen got basically 10 years. It's not a full 10, but basically got 10 years. They sent a very strong message to everybody in southeast Minnesota, in Olmsted County, and really across the state of Minnesota, that y'all better not defend yourselves. And Judge Haney really contributed to that in the way she restricted the defense. If you guys are chatting, I'm not getting any new updates in the chat for some reason. So, what we're looking at in the case of the Supreme Court stepping in and tossing this back is not just a smackdown for Judge Haney. It is literally a clear message, a shot across the bow, if you will, of the Olmsted County's Attorney's Office. And that is why I believe the final straw that broke the camel's back in getting Ostrom to resign from office, to retire early, halfway through his most recent term. That allowed Olmsted County to step in, and instead of holding a special election to elect a brand new attorney, they, in the words of County Commissioner Mark Thine, they decided it was best to save the taxpayers of Olmsted County some money, and we're going to appoint a county attorney. Now, if you're a money-saving kind of person, that sounds good. The problem is, and a lot of people know this, that it completely avoids the ability of someone who may actually have the best interest of the county at heart, by way of running for county attorney and actually seeking justice. So the county commission stepped in and appointed a brand new attorney, and I'll be damned if I can remember who it is right now. Hannah, if you're watching, remind me who it is right now, which one they ended up going with. But what we do know about the guy that they did choose to step in and fill out the term for Ostrom is that he is just like Mark Ostrom. Michael Walters. Yes, absolutely, Michael Walters. Michael Walters is just like Mark Ostrom. He is every bit as sleazy and slimy. He's every bit as soft on actual predators, people who commit acts of SA against pre-adult people. He is every bit the sleazeball that Ostrom is. So when you take Ostrom's persecutorial prosecution of Chase Johnston just this last year and securing a conviction against Chase Johnston, who was exposing pedophiles in Olmsted County, in Rochester, literally exposing, in the case of one individual, exposed an individual who was who had a conviction for multiple cases of severe SA against his fiance's minor brother, did 10 years for that, then gets online and goes to a gay dating app in an attempt to meet with a 16-year-old boy to get high and have rough sex and record it. Chase exposes that. RPD arrests Chase, lets the predator go, and Mark Ostrom comes out in the media and labels Chase a vigilante. It says that he will never work with anybody like Chase Johnston again, or at all, ever. Now keep in mind, Chase Johnston is also the same guy who caught Deputy Matt Adamson of the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office in the process of trying to meet with pre-adult girls in exchange for sex in exchange for alcohol. So you have Ostrom that refused to do anything to prosecute Matt Adamson, has demonstrated in his language and his verbiage, in his writings, in his speech, in his statements to the press, to other forms of media, that he believes that these SA predators should be given lighter sentences so that they can be taken to treatment and reformed. Hey, El Vaccaro, good to see you, brother. I have not seen you for a while. El Vaccaro, it is my 5-year anniversary today, and there is a 5-year anniversary show dropping at 7 p.m. Central. I think you are going to love it. Folks, if you don't know who El Vaccaro is, he has been with me since early in the show. I met him through a now no longer going show that was called Unsafe Space, and it was hosted by a good friend of mine, Carter Laren. Well, we became good friends because Carter helped me really get my channel to explode after he and I met through his show. So he and Carrie Smith, actually. So yeah, Elva Carl, welcome. Thanks for being here. Yes, and everybody, please hit that like button and the share. And if you guys are interested and you want to shoot me a super chat or a super thank you to say congratulations, I am not going to complain, folks. Anything that you want to do, we here, and the we here at Minnesota Black Rock Regiment or Minnesota Black Rock Regiment Podcast, MBR Media, we is me. And we are very thankful for everything that everybody does. Super chats, memberships, all of that. So, Elva, Carl, thanks for stepping in. Good to see you, my friend. I hope to see more of you. But anyway, Ostrom drops the ball, refuses to prosecute Chase Johnston, or not refuses to prosecute Matt Adamson, refuses to prosecute the guy that Chase exposed the second time, persecutes Chase, sends Chase to prison for 5 years, then has his conviction that he won against Stephen Hart thrown out because it's clear that the Olmsted County attorney that prosecuted the case on behalf of Mark Ostrom basically colluded. And I'm not saying they planned it behind the scenes. I would never say that. I would never say that I have any evidence that they colluded behind the scenes to make an example of Stephen Hart. I cannot say that. I could never say that. I don't have anything at all by way of evidence. But what we do have is the Supreme Court throwing the entire trial out. Folks, it's not just a sentencing overturn where they said, no, we're going to consider you guilty, but we're going to order a new sentencing. No, they literally threw the entire trial out and called it a miscarriage of justice. Mark Ostrom had to leave. And the Olmsted County Board had to appoint somebody just like Ostrom so that they could carry their agenda forward. And that's what they did with Michael Terrence Walters. So, from March 3rd until now, not only did Ostrom leave, but they sat on the decision to appeal or not appeal the Supreme Court decision, which, by the way, I'm sorry, folks, prosecutions should not be allowed the ability to appeal. I hate that. You lose. There should be no ability to appeal. Yeah, James Wilder. Hey, James, good to see you in the chat. All the evidence that showed Steve acted in self-defense was disallowed by the judge and the prosecution, hence the reverse remanded by the appellate court. Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, James is a good man. He's standing by his father-in-law. That is, he's an amazing man right there, folks. No matter what, he's standing strong with his family, and that's the kind of men we need in this country again. Too many pansy men out there turn tail and run when the going gets tough, and James has not done that. I've not had the pleasure of meeting James face to face yet, but I think that day is coming. I'd take them out to dinner, but I'm as broke as they are now because they have to plan for a new trial. Oh, but anyway. So all of this is working together against Mark Ostrom, against the Olmsted County Attorney's Office. And so they sit on the decision to appeal, finally decide not to appeal at the very last minute, which then means the DOC cannot sit on Steve any longer. That folks, but what I want you to, here's foundationally, conceptually, philosophically, what we have to understand is that the very second that the Minnesota Supreme Court or the appellate court, or whichever it was. What wasn't it? It was the Supreme Court. Once they declared that the trial was null and void, Stephen Hart was ostensibly not guilty, ladies and gentlemen, not guilty. Let that sink in. From March 3rd until today, April 25th, and I would like to say I'll never forget this, but I probably will. But on the same day that my anniversary of the starting of this show, Stephen Hart is still incarcerated for a crime he did not commit. That's what's happening here. We have got to get people in this country, not just in Olmsted County, not just in southeast Minnesota, not just in the state of Minnesota, not just in the upper Midwest, not just in the Midwest, not just west of the Mississippi, not just in this little region right around, Minnesota and Iowa and South Dakota and North Dakota and Wisconsin. Folks, what we need is everybody in this country to pay attention to this reality. Stephen Hart on March 3rd of 2025 was told, you, sir, are still not guilty. You are still innocent until you can be proven guilty in a court of law as decided by a jury of your peers. And Olmsted County Attorney's Office, the prosecutors, in a chess move, in a power play, sat on him as long as they possibly could until the very last second to make their decision to appeal or not appeal, so that they could then bring him down here. And when did they do it? Oh, goddamn, this pisses me off. On a Friday. And I'm going to tell you something about transports on Fridays. They're rare. They're very, very rare. The Minnesota DOC doesn't accept transfers in on Fridays, and they very, very, very rarely transport out on Fridays. So this was a calculated move on the part of Michael Walters, the Olmsted County Attorney's Office, to bring Stephen here and plop him down yet again behind the walls of the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office Adult Detention Center, where now all these privileges that he's earned in prison are now stripped from him, and he goes right back into the Olmsted County Sheriff's Office Adult Detention Center to sit in intake for no less than 3 days. And likely because he's been charged with the violent crime. Remember, the conviction is vacated. So he's back to being in a position where he's considered charged with a violent crime. And the sheriff's last few years, because he's been shooting one, he has to sit as a violent offender, which last time I worked in there, it meant a longer period of time in the intake unit. Now, here's the kicker. He doesn't have to be arraigned. So there's no guarantee that they're going to have to put him in front of a judge on Monday. But Michael Walters made a very calculated decision to, at the very last minute, to refuse to appeal so that they could bring him here on a Monday and still have him sitting incarcerated and locked up over a weekend before they even consider putting him in front of a judge for a bond hearing on Monday. Now, how are they treating him? News that I have is that the transport deputies were very kind to him. They were nice to him. They were pleasant to him, which, you know, hey, props to the transport deputies. Thanks, guys, for doing your jobs professionally. You know, thank you. Appreciate that. And I can't speak for the family, but I personally appreciate that you did that you treated him professionally, and you played good music for him, according to what he said, that you guys played good music for him. So that's nice of you. But I want you to understand, we're still treating Stephen Hart, the state of Minnesota, we the people of the people's state of Mark Sisota, we are still treating him as if he is guilty. Because he got in that transport with a belly chain on and torture cuffs on, with shackles on, and his hands to his belly chain and his shackles on his feet, crawling into a transport and transported back here, where then he was objected to booking process all over again. He was subjected to a strip search all over again. He's being subjected to the humiliating suicide awareness screening, the mental health screening. He's going to have to go back through and explain all of his medical needs and concerns all over again. And what do we know about the last time he was incarcerated in Olmsted County while he was waiting trial? It's not a commentary on the detention staff. I still have people that work there that I respect. I don't know if anyone that works there still calls me friend. The last I heard, booking deputy Molly Jennings told somebody that everybody that works there hates me now. Okay. But we know that he was mistreated medically while he was there last time. So here we are, starting this process all over again, and you know, and I want to be able to look at Stephen's family and I want to go, guys, you know, look, keep your chins up. Everything's going to be okay. But I don't like the way this looks. This has me very, very, very apprehensive. I am not at all thrilled with this situation. I believe this is a setup. I believe that Michael Walters is doing his level best to push off the process of getting Stephen in front of a judge for a bond hearing as long as possible. Now, I wish I could tell you what the time limit for getting him in front of the judge for a bond hearing would be in this situation, but I don't know. I don't know. I would hope that this would kick back in to a situation where it becomes an issue of they have their requisite 72 hours, not counting the weekends, and that's why that's a kicker. Folks, you have to understand this. They have probable cause to hold him. We're going back to day one of his arrest. That's what this is treated like now. Because the jury trial, the conviction, the sentencing, and all that's been vacated, like it never happened. Like it never freaking happened. Hello, William. They now have. They don't have to get him in front of a judge on Monday morning or on Monday. they'll push this out every bit that they can. They'll get the detectives, the investigators, they will get them to write up a 48-hour hold on him if they need to. And it might not be 40. Like, I've been out of the game for a while now, so some of the technical time frames are missing from the memory files. And once again, this is not a commentary on the Olmsted County Adult Detention Center staff. This is not a commentary on them. This is a commentary on the tactics of the Rochester Police Department. It's a commentary on the tactics of the Olmsted County Attorney's Office prosecution staff and Michael Walters. These people are sleaze. These people are sleaze. They will push out the request for a bond hearing as far as they possibly can. And even if Stephen's attorney shows up, there's not a lot he can do. There's not a lot he can do. We don't even know if there's been a judge assigned to this, because we don't know if they're actually going to try and re-prosecute this. Now, here's the problem. We know with their track record that they will try to prosecute this again. I'm sorry, Stephen's family. They're going to try and prosecute this again. If you guys haven't researched yet, you need to go look up Alex Weiss. Not identical situations, other than Alex used a firearm in an act of self-defense, and that resulted in a death of a man who was under the age of 18. They prosecuted Alex for that self-defense shooting, that's use of a pew-pew. And then the jury came back hung the first trial. So they re-prosecuted him, came back hung for a second trial. And Mark Ostrom has reserved for the Olmsted County Attorney's Office in perpetuity the ability to re-prosecute Alex Weiss at any time. So they will retry, they will demand a new trial for Stephen Hart. Now, we can only hope that Judge Haney is not the judge that gets the case. We can hope that she does not get the case. We can also hope that she's learned her lesson. That was stupid of me to say. I don't know. She did not. She has not learned a lesson. Because these people don't learn lessons. They don't learn lessons. Because there's nothing you can do about it. You cannot sue a judge for judicial misconduct. Even though there is such a thing as judicial misconduct, you can't sue a judge for it. Because there's this thing that's called qualified immunity. And in the case of judges, qualified immunity is called judicial immunity. And the courts are the ones who decide whether or not judicial immunity, qualified immunity stays attached. They're automatically granted judicial immunity. It's not that they have to go in and ask for judicial immunity. Judge Haney automatically has judicial immunity, and it's up to a attorney to take it to the courts and argue that it should be removed from her in civil litigation, and it will not be removed. I cannot think of the last time that I heard of any judge. Maybe there are cases out there. If you know of a case like that, please reach out and let me know. I would love to look into it. But I can't think of a time where I heard of a judge in Minnesota having judicial immunity removed, detached. I cannot think of a time. Doesn't mean there's not one out there, but TC, cannot think of a time that I've heard it in all the time that I've been looking into it. So basically, Judge Haney intentionally and willfully, with malice, stripped Stephen Hart of his constitutional right to mount a defense where he was able to present evidence that showed his innocence, that showed that what he did was, in fact, a case of self-defense. She did that willfully and with malice. And she's untouchable. So that even if there was a civil case and they did sue and there was an award granted to Stephen and his family, the taxpayers of Olmsted County would be on the hook to pay that. The irony is, of course, Stephen and his family are taxpayers in Olmsted County. So they would technically be suing Judge Haney, who would then have qualified or judicial immunity attached. They could lose the case and have to pay out, and Stephen and his family would have, be paying that out of the money that they pay in taxes in Olmsted County. Folks, that is the problem with our judicial system. That is the crap. That is the bullshit. No, it's just because of the way the camera's facing Jeannie. Folks, that Stephen's story is one of the reasons why I do this show. I didn't know it when I started this show 5 years ago today. I really didn't. I did not know when I started this show 5 years ago today that's what I was doing. That I was building up to talk about people like Stephen Hart and his family. One of which has become, because I met her face to face, has become a very good friend. Good friend. She probably doesn't want people to know that, but it's asinine and ridiculous, the things that we have to put up with here in the U.S. It pisses me off, frankly. So I'm going to be working with Stephen's family to get the contact information for everybody that they think is pertinent, and we're going to be putting it in the description of this video. So if you're interested in writing emails, letters, making phone calls, whatnot, please do so respectfully, civilly, but with a force of anger to get the point across. To let the Olmsted County Attorney, Michael Walters, and the Olmsted County Board of Commissioners know that further engagement in prosecuting Stephen Hart after what they've already put him through is a violation of his constitutional rights. It's a violation of his natural rights. And it's a violation of his human rights. And then it's time for them to say enough is enough and send him home to his family. The man is innocent. He was innocent before his sham trial. And now the Minnesota Appellate Court has declared him innocent. The Olmsted County Attorney refused to appeal because they know what it looks like. Oh, James, I'm not saying you should sue. I'm saying that the right of addressing the grievance of what she did, there's no penalty for her. That's what I'm getting at. There's no criminal penalty that can be attached to her, and there's no civil penalty that can be attached to her. So she's just not going to learn a lesson because there's no penalty. She'll just like, oh well, they overturned the case. They overturned it. Oh well, they threw out the trial. Oh, they threw out the conviction. Oh well, and she'll just move on with her life. She won't resign. She won't leave. She won't be embarrassed. She'll just move on. She'll just continue to make mistakes, like not ordering Trooper Shane Roper in to be, yeah, never mind. She should have to pay a penalty for what she did. She knew what she was doing was wrong. And that's the problem with these people when they get in these positions of power. They always know that they're doing wrong. They know they're doing wrong. They just know there's no penalties for it. Doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's a hardcore leftist like Biden and Kamala Harris. It doesn't matter if it's a Trumpian a populist like Trump on the supposed right. It doesn't matter who it is. When they get in these positions, the power goes straight to their heads. And they play chess and they make moves. And it always works against justice for we the peons. Stephen deserves to be home with his wife tonight. That's what he deserves. That's what Stephen Hart deserves. That's what his wife deserves. That's what his family deserves. That's what his daughter deserves. That's what his grandkids deserve. That's what they all deserve. That's what they deserve because it's theirs by right. The judge and the prosecutor, Mark Ostrom, they are the ones that deserve to be locked up for deprivation of rights under the color of law. That's what they deserve. It's not me. It's a criminal code. Conspiracy to deprive a person of their rights under the color of freaking law. That's what they did. Deprivation of rights under the color of law, under the United States Criminal Code. And there will be no repercussions for them. None. And Stephen is back in Olmsted County at the Adult Detention Center, locked up, waiting to find out if he's even going to get a chance at a goddamn bond. This crap has got to stop. We treat men like Stephen like trash and like dirt. We let pedophiles and child abusers go, and we spend more time going after men and making them sit longer in jail. Guys like Stephen, self-defense, and guys who've committed allegedly committed no crime, but owe child support. They get treated far worse by guys like Michael Walters. Guys like Stephen and people who are behind on child support get treated far worse than actual murderers and sexual abusers. And there's no justice because they know how to play the system. Once again, thank you to everybody who's watched. Thank you to everybody who has supported the channel for the last 5 years. Thank you to all my channel members. Thank you to all my subscribers. Tune in tonight for the 5-year anniversary show. It's only 30 minutes. But please come in, hit up the channel with Super Chat. I would, for the 5-year. Or, finally be, drop that membership. How do I want to say it? Become a member of the channel. And until next time, my friends, Sic Semper Tyrannis.